today. I hope that everything is going great with your life right now. Let me tell you something. We're so excited because today, in the episode of today, we're going to have Alexander Hernandez The Great from the UFC, professional fighter. And guys, before we go to that, let me tell you in the episode of today what we're gonna learn. Hola, hola. Hello, everybody. How are you guys doing? I hope that you guys are amazing today. My name is Angel Saldaña. I'm the host of Vunderdog. And today, guys, we have a very special guest. You're going to be a spectator today of one of the most amazing stories. And what I'm looking for right now is to be ready, take some notes, and enjoy the game. So let's bring our guest speaker today. We're right here. There you go. We're just waiting for our guest speaker. Guys, today in the episode of today, we're going to learn about discipline, get focused, and how's it going, Alex?
Hey, how's it going, brother? How are you, Angel?
How's it going? Doing great, my man. Doing great. How's everything doing over there?
Good, man. Doing real good. It's Sunday, so it's a day off mostly. Still going to get it running and some organizing, but a day out of like the real laborious actions in the gym, so it's cool. Sundays are nice.
Working out a little bit too, getting ready,
yeah,
man.
Yeah. Always,
very excited.
Yeah.
We look forward to October 31st. Let me tell you that we've been following a little bit of your career from our good friend Z that gave us the opportunity to meet. And welcome to Vunderdog, the #1 channel of Underdogs, man. So
yeah, absolutely. Shout out to Zari Edmond.
Thank you.
Number one life insurance agent right there, my dog.
Yeah. We've been talking a little bit about that, huh? And you know what? And thank you for your support as well. Alexander the Great, huh?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Brother, I heard about you previous when you start before fighting. We look forward because we have a lot of underdog people, followers that we're currently having. And sometimes, believe it or not, they think that that they're not able or capable to do big things. Going pro. Maybe they don't come from a rich family. Maybe they don't come from, they don't make a fortune. Their parents don't make a fortune. So they just come from like that. What are your thoughts about those things? What are your thoughts about the people that is trying to find something like that?
In the sense of just finding your ambition. Yeah, I mean, I think that's something that maybe you're born with, maybe you're not, but definitely striving to find the right mentors and surround yourself with the right kind of people, the right kind of minds. That way, whether you're naturally inclined to be ambitious or not, you're surrounded by sort of a wolf pack that will drive you towards ambition and drive you towards excellence. So I think it's important. I think it's important to surround yourself with people and certainly seek out high level mentorship.
Love it. What was your story before going to UFC Pro? What you?
Yeah. So I started wrestling when I was 13. And that puts hair on your chest at an early age. You become a man quick. You kind of do shit that most kids aren't doing. You're running in the neighborhood in plastics, cutting weight on a Friday night, getting ready to go train on a Saturday, when everyone else is playing. And so you kind of learn at an early age to be distinct amongst even distinct individuals. And so I grew up doing that, and then I ended up choking in high school, state, not making where I wanted to go. And so I didn't wrestle in college. I ended up just going to school at UTSA for finance. And I found my way into a martial arts gym pretty quickly, though. And so I started training. And then before I knew it, I was in the gym more than I was probably in class. But I was still doing both, making good grades and training. And
so let's just stop a little bit over there. How was your discipline back then? How did you found your discipline? It was more work ethic. It was just, what would you describe that discipline since, let's just say, that younger age?
Yeah, man, well, I come from men of high work ethic. My grandfather's first generation over here from Mexico. He built everything for the rest of my family. We have a nice tier of, nice family tree off his side.
What part of Mexico, Alex?
Honestly, I don't even know. He doesn't even know where he was born in Mexico. Oh! That's the craziest part.
That's funny. Part. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And so he came from the ground up. 7 kids on a floor in a house to owning like nice real estate in a nice area of San Antonio. And my dad's always worked hard. My uncle's always worked hard. I mean, my aunts too. We just come from a family of like hardworking men, and so. for me, work ethic was always just instilled as like there's no easy way out, there's no shortcuts, and so we've always been grinders. And then again, getting into wrestling gave me ambition to want something more, and also let me know that I could achieve things. Because I've always been real, I was always real small growing up. I was like, I didn't hit puberty till like way too late in the game, and so everybody blew up past me, and I was just like this little kid. And wrestling was cool because it's a pound for pound feat, so it lets you know that the little guy could do it too. And seeing myself accomplish those things in just weekly matches, day-to-day grind matches, that instilled a different kind of fire in me. It made something tangible that I can get my hands on. And so the work ethic was always instilled from my father, my grandfather, but then being in the wrestling community, and that's surrounding yourself with that wolf pack. And so then all we knew to do was grind, and I was surrounded by other people who just wanted success and were hungry. And so we came up.
Who did you grow up with?
Kids that, I mean, you probably wouldn't know the name of, but you know, one pretty famous dude's Alex Gilpin. He was one of my best friends growing up. He's in a $1 million organization called PFL right now for mixed martial arts. He wrestled over at Wisconsin University.
Wow.
He's a stud that we were practically neighbors, and we would be in each other's garages every other day, training, at practice training, running neighborhoods together. And we had a good pack of people like that. You know, like there was probably 15 of us in San Antonio community that were putting it on for the whole city nationally, because San Antonio is not known as being a wrestling community, or even now it's not known as being really a fighting community. But we're trying to put on through Ohana, show them how much of a giant San Antonio really is. So
wow, you know what? My wife and I, we moved actually from DFW to San Antonio a little bit over a year ago. So we moved and we start our office. That's how we get introduced to our friend Z. We met him.
Nice.
Came as a referral agent, and then we started working together. But we've been here in San Antonio, and we noticed that it's a city that is growing. So, Alex, what would you say? How important? Because you mentioned your friend that growing up with him, and today he's also a fighter. He's making his way up, and he's already like making moves over there. Yeah. So, what would you say? How important associations are? Maybe in having the right teamwork and stuff like that.
You said organizations or relationships or both? What was that?
Yeah, I think both. I think both.
No, absolutely. You know, like I said, we were at a pretty good school, but then we created a club team at a young age. So then we had a club team, and that was where we put together people from all over the area. Because you know, when you go to school, you're just limited to the people under that roof, right? But we had friends that were in the same district, but in surrounding schools. And we were all, you know, real recognized real. And so we started to pick each other out in tournaments, and we became buddies, and we all started to try to grind together. And so I was like, you know what, let's create an organization where we can all be together aside from school. And so then we started this team club. And then we started traveling. Instead of just being confined to Texas, and we started traveling nationally. And then, and shit, I mean, some of these guys go as big as internationally, you know, but being able to surround yourself with those kind of people, and then just keep growing and growing and growing, and then looking out for each other's mutual interests instead of, you know, some people cannibalize their own crew because they're so concerned about getting on the top that they neglect the growth of the people around them. And that growth around the people around them is just as important as their own growth. And so that was something that we focused on heavily was, you know, whenever one person gained on the other person, it wasn't something to be upset about. We were so competitive that you might be like, oh, damn it, you know, why'd I let that happen that day? But that's good energy. Then you bring that to them the next week. That's something that we do even now. So I went from Team Sandstorm, which was in a high school, and then found Ohana, and then we bred Ohana. And then again, even in my work environment, I was a loan officer, a mortgage loan officer. We get into that later, whatever. And then even now at Factory X in Colorado, bridging Ohana and Factory X together, it's just constantly trying to surround myself in the densest, most arduous groups of like rough individuals that I know are going to push me. And see there, and a lot of times you want to try to put yourself in these pools where it's sink or swim, you know, where like, and people do get weeded out. You know, you don't want to be in that blow up inflatable pool that anybody can buy and toss in their backyard.
Right.
Like, no, like I want that Olympic sized pool with 20 feet deep waters, and everybody's trying to pull you down or pick you up, and you got to be able to swim with those guys. And so, constantly challenging yourself to be in more difficult circles and rising to the next tier of competition is extremely important.
Would you say that every time that you get better, your circle is changing? Meaning,
yes,
no, like that you,
okay. Yeah, and ideally you want to always be bringing up your circle with you, you know. But there are points. That was kind of a point that I had just now in my career too, where I did need another sphere of influence because maybe that circle had more expertise than what I had before.
Wow.
But what I want to do though is bring my circle to the new circle also. You know what I mean? I want to bring them both up. I don't want to just. A lot of people are so quick to leave the ones that got them started, the ones that helped them grow, the ones that they've been in the trenches with for so long.
True.
For me, I always want to pay homage to those people. And so I want to do everything I can to give back to those people and help bring them up to whatever level I'm elevating to, because you can't always expect everyone to keep up with you, and you can't hold yourself back for anybody else. Wow. But you want to do everything in your power to try to bring up the people around you, and at least give them opportunities to stay with you. You know, at least give them the opportunity to stay with you.
What would you say is the mindset you trying to get your people to your circle? And what would you say is the mindset with some people, like you said, some people is going to follow your steps, is going to follow your path, because you're a leader, right? And what would you say what's the mindset for those that they say, well, I'm okay where I'm at? Like, what would you say, like the frustration inside of you that you want to help them, they don't want to be helped? What would you say?
Yeah, it's very frustrating, you know, because people have a natural tendency to be complacent. You know, people love comfortability, and that's kind of even like society today. The shit that we get so worked up about, like in such an upheaval over, it just shows like we are domesticated to death. Like we went from being these like lions out in the wild to being, you know, house kittens that will just roll over and get their bellies scratched and their bowls filled anytime they can. And so it's important to like not lose sight of that like primitive self. True. You know, I try to be as primitive as fucking possible. I try to be a Neanderthal everywhere I go and every chance I can get. And so, it's important. It's important to not grow complacent. It's important to not grow comfortable. And it's also important to have low expectations for others sometimes, because then you'll never get disappointed. And so my grandpa once said that. He goes, you expect everyone's an idiot, you'll never be disappointed when they prove you to be stupid, you know? And like, maybe he said it maybe more poetic than that, but that was the bottom line. And so for me, it's true. If you expect stupidity, you won't ever be disappointed. And I truthfully do. I expect myself to be at the highest standard, but I don't expect everybody else to keep up with my standard. But again, I try to provide every opportunity for them to do so. And the real ones will stay with you. Z, for instance, that's a real one. I can always call that guy and he can always put some words of wisdom in my ear, get my head right, make sure. Sometimes I'll get like too locked into a mindset because I'm getting bombarded with words of, I mean, fucking everyone, whoever, you know. And so sometimes having an objective bird's eye view of someone who knows you and has seen you is also hungry. Those kind of people, they continue to distinguish themselves as you grow because they're constantly trying to grow with you. And so as you continue to excel, as you continue to build new habits and patterns for yourself, the people who are like-minded will stay with you. And that's the beautiful thing about getting old, and even like keeping friends, losing friends is a natural process versus, you know, I'm not going to invite so-and-so to dinner because, you know, whatever. It's like, no, so-and-so doesn't want to, we haven't talked in, you know, months because they didn't want to wake up and train with me, or they didn't want to hang out and maybe do like, maybe do something simple on a Friday night instead of just party and take whatever the hell drugs any day of the week. It's like, there's a time for that. There's a time to party, but it can't be all the time. And so they don't want to do the work to get to the party, to get to the celebration together. Right. They're constantly living in a party, and I can't keep up with that. So you kind of weed each other out naturally.
You know what? That you say something very, very specific, because I realize sometimes people want to see the fruit without planting the seeds. Like, right. It makes sense. Alex, who were you in high school? In high school, just run-of-the-mill Joe, man. I was just this little kid who was just trying to wrestle. That's all I did, man. I was just, I mean, I've always been social, and so I try to get along with everybody. But man, I spent so much of my early age, you know, just trying to figure out who to be. You know, you just walk around confused, trying to impress others. And so for a long time, that's what it is. You know, just teen angst, just growing up and trying to be cool or trying to impress whoever.
And that was a cool thing about wrestling, is it kind of gave me an identity and also gave me a purpose. And then it let me work exclusively for myself as opposed to anybody else. And so, I kind of went from being confused, what clothes do I want to wear? What circle am I going to fit into? Whatever else, to just finding this passion and this craft, and then just trying to exploit that as much as possible. And so really, I just kind of became a grinder in high school. That's all I did. I just grinded. Made the grades. I mean, did good on my grades. I was always A's and B's, and then I just wrestled like a madman.
What would you say in high school? Like you were competitive since a younger age, or you competitive to start coming up?
No, I got competitive whenever there was a purpose for me to feel competitive. Like I never felt like I just never cared about anything. Like growing up as a kid, I just hung out. I just wanted to hang out with my friends. I've always just liked the boys. I've always wanted to be with the boys. Always wanted to hang out with my boys, and I never really had like a passion towards anything, and I was never good at any sports. I sucked at sports. I was never athletic. Like people try to say now, like, oh, it's because you're athletic. It's like, no, I had to build this athleticism. I had to work for years on being physically and mentally sharp to be athletic.
You that.
I was never fucking athletic in my life. I was always too short, a little chubby. I sucked. I played basketball forever, and then I realized I was too short and I sucked, so I stopped. But like I was never really good at sports. And then again, I didn't hit puberty till way too late in the game. So everybody kind of excelled past me, and I was still just like, what the fuck, kind of looking down. Right. When are these gonna drop, And so
I cannot believe you that, huh? Let me tell you, I never been competitive either. Like I'm one of the persons, like I never play sports. I tried to play soccer. I played for a little bit, and then I say, hey, you know what? I was starting party, bro. I was like 16 years old. And then it was the coach in the soccer team. He said, Angel, you don't feel okay, bro? I was starting throwing up because I was like never played sports, and they put me in the game just to get extra points in high school.
Like, I went a season. Yeah, I went a season in middle school, and my buddy would love to bring it up anytime we were talking to girls. He'd love to, hey, ask Alex how many points he scored this year. 0. The answer was always fucking 0. Scored 0 points. I was trash, and I also like had a tendency to like choke up under pressure in those moments. And so a big part of my like growth was finding that inner strength, that inner identity. Like I had to start finding my own identity instead of trying to be anybody for anybody else, or trying to be someone for anybody else, And so that was a big deal of growing up, for sure.
You mentioned that you were, as a previous fight, you were part of meaning, I mean, you always been fighting. You said like you started your career at younger age at the same time, but before that, you mentioned that you were part of a loan officer. You were a loan officer, correct? So you were a self-employed. Okay. Yeah. So how do you get involved in it, and how far did you went to as a loan officer?
Yeah. Whenever I graduated college, graduated finance at UTSA, and I tore my knee. So I was just planning on just kind of having like a business degree as a backup plan, and I was just going to fight. And then I tore my knee, and I had to get surgery. And so I was out on the couch. And at that point, I really didn't know, I didn't have the resources or the knowledge on rehabilitation like I do now, and just general health maintenance and practices like that. And so I was sitting on the couch feeling like a bum, because I'm like, I'm not training and I'm not applying this degree to anything. And so I just got to do something, because I'm not going to just fucking sit on the couch for like 6 months while this leg rehabs.
Right.
So, and now like today, I would have had a little bit more direction, and that rehabilitation and probably gotten right back on it and been in the gym sooner. But again, we were just kind of young and dumb and didn't know enough. And so I started pursuing, I just started going through really the contact log and seeing who I knew and what they knew, and what industries I might be able to break into, or what job opportunities I had out there for myself. And
you were before that, Alex. So you mentioned finance degree. So you went to bachelor's, you get your UTSA, and then you get your bachelor's as a finance. So you're good with numbers, huh?
Yes. Okay. Maybe at one point, not anymore. I'm trash. I haven't looked at Excel or a computer in like 3 years, dude.
You could have everything, but you're good at something right now, and I love it.
Yeah, I don't even know the computer anymore, dog. I love that. So So a good one of my really good friends growing up, and we became closer kind of through college and everything. And his dad is a big dog in San Antonio. He's a broker of Keller Williams.
Okay.
And so he had this giant Keller Williams Heritage office and the City View office. I don't know if you've seen those in San Antonio, but they're massive. One's on 1604, one's on I-10. And I was sitting down and having lunch with him, and he was like, my brother, because I was talking about stock investment and, I mean, just a bunch of loose titles, very vague,
Right.
because like I really don't know what the fuck anything is, and I really don't know how to break into this, but like just educate me on kind of like who you know, and maybe I can kind of wiggle my way into some meetings and figure some things out. And
Did
so
you try to do sales before or not?
Well, I mean, I was a server. I was a server for years. So that was the extent of that.
That helps. That helps a little bit.
That was the extent of that.
Okay.
And so then I went. He gave me the contact of his stock investor brother in Tennessee, and then he gave me a contact of a loan officer, mortgage broker there, who's partnered with him. Keller Williams is a gentleman named Jeff Hamilton, with Gold Financial. Okay. And Jeff answered the phone, the other guy didn't, so then the rest was kind of history after that. So I went into this interview, we talked for like 45 minutes, maybe more, and he was like, we hit it off really well. He used to actually play pro baseball for like a very short stint, and he had injuries and things that came up, and so he had to fall out, and then eventually he found his way into business and everything. But he kind of liked the professional athleticism eye that I had as well as him, and so we relayed on that, and that kind of that grinder's mentality and just striving to be number one in the room that you're in. And that's what I told him. I was like, I may not be the brightest in the room, but I'll work anybody you put me next to. And so we hit off, and he was like, you don't have any real job experience, so if it wasn't for Craig Owen's recommendation, probably would have had like a 15-minute interview and told you to bounce. But
real job experience.
Yeah. But he's like, this is, you're great, and having Craig as your referral is everything. And so it really is about who you know. I mean, it really is always about broadening your spheres of influence and really trying to be as affable and sociable as absolutely possible any chance you get, because
and you were successful. You were successful at that game too, because you were making six figures, don't you?
Oh yeah, I killed it. Yeah, I killed
it.
Yeah.
I heard. Yeah. Somebody told me that. I was like, really?
And I remember that. And it wasn't even the business of real estate or mortgage. It was the business of building relationships, and I could do that better than the best of them.
True.
And so that's what I did. I started out as a front desk lady for a while, and then I was a processor, and then I was an assistant loan officer, and then I was a loan officer, and then I switched companies, and I had to fill in bigger shoes than what I was planning on. I had to start giving like weekly economic forecast, and then whatever they were doing before, I pretty much chopped that shit up, disposed of it, and then made it a whole new package. Delivered a whole new image to those presentations. I would deliver every meeting with some kind of a personal story that had a funny punchline at the end connected to something going on with the current events of today or the economy, and then spiel some facts. They knew I was personable, funny, and knowledgeable. And I would crush I'd leave those interviews like fucking Tom Brady in the locker room giving high fives. And if I didn't, if I didn't leave those presentations like that, it would fuck me up. I'd have such a bad day. And so that was a problem. I can't get too attached to those kind of things. Something I learned later. It took me a couple years to learn that later on. But I did real good in that business. And then around 25, I had a quarter life crisis, and remember what my 18-year-old self said, that I'd be in the UFC by now, that there's no way I couldn't be. And I thought, well, what the fuck am I doing? I've been in this San Antonio bubble what feels like almost my entire life, certainly my entire adult life and teenage. And so I was like, I just need to quit this and go all in. And so I did. That's what I did. I just quit my job.
You just quit it. Like, you just process it. How long did it take you to process it, by the way? How long you were like in the mindset of, I should do this because I feel like I'm good at it, and it's my passion about it? Or how you process that?
Well, you know,
Because,
I really enjoyed that work that I was doing because I like the idea of sky's the limit. You know, I really like the idea of what the work that you put in, you build, and you can build your own empire and you keep that.
true.
And so I really like the commission structure. I really like the idea of again building my own business that's truly
True.
mine under my name. And so I really enjoyed that. And that there was a time where I was like, you know, I don't like fighting. I love training. I love being mixed martial arts, but fighting is the most stressful, just anxiety-ridden shit I could do, and I don't want to do it anymore. And so I stopped competing for a little bit, and I just went all in into my mortgage business and was doing really, really well. I was still training. Every day.
Okay.
I mean, I would train 3 to 4 hours a day and still be working like ridiculous hours.
How
like
many
10 to 12
hours would you say? And you know what? This is a good thing before we
every day I was working 10 to 12 hours on average, and then I would train for 3.5 hours at night. Sometimes I would train for an hour in the morning, and if I couldn't do the morning, it was because I woke up.
For how long?
I had work to do.
Alexander, for how long did you did that? Previous, like, you make a decision, because those are 16 hours a day, right?
Yeah. No, I mean, because I would start my days off like 6 or 7 a.m. and I would get home at like 10 p.m. and then I would eat, decompress a bit, go to bed. And I was taking too many energy, whatever I could drink and stuff, which is shit for you. Shouldn't do it. Try to stick to like coffee, cold brews, bangs are trash. All that shit's trash. So try to like really just have like natural energy drinks. So even have like
agua.
I get really good stuff now.
Agua.
I don't have anything sitting around.
Agua.
Water all day, cold brews for me. And I've got like a Garden of Life energy and focus supplement that's just a little powder. It's just natural vitamins. It's good. Nothing that gets you all jittery and stuff. Just helps kind of bring some clarity when you need it. But that was the problem too. You know, people think that there's like this like hustler's mentality and not ever sleeping, but that's a false. That's like a little bit of woohoo that's been spread through. It's a little outdated. You know, you really want to be quality over quantity, quality hours, and the amount that you can manage and with a good night's rest, so that your physical output's purposeful, your mental output's purposeful. You can condense the amount of work time that it takes whenever you're fully focused, you're fully rested, and that's longevity in the game. I was getting injured all the fucking time in the gym because I was running on red all the time, and so that was the coolest thing when I quit my job. It was like, holy shit, I can recover now. I can recover. My wrists don't hurt, my ankles don't hurt, my elbows. Little dumb things. I was injured all the time. But no, I had that. But that's what you have to do, though. A lot of people have a bad like. That's just part of it. That's the struggle. And then whenever you get kind of like in a more comfortable spot where you can focus on that one thing and the side hustles aren't as demanding, then you can take better care of yourself. But there's definitely a period where everybody has to go through where you're unhealthy because you're grinding so hard. And that's kind of the way it has to be for a period, you know?
Yeah.
People get this idea that like, well, for one, they should just go all in on something, which I always think that you need 2 hustles until it makes sense for you to have the one. And then after you have the big one, then you have little micro side hustles that you should always be doing at least 2 things in my mind. You should always be doing 2 things. You know, like I was pursuing a full-time professional career where come to find out I was doing more than some of these fuckers are doing even now.
True.
I always thought like, oh, in the UFC, like how can I be keeping up with these guys? I gotta be working. Then I made it and I'm like, damn, there's complacent bitches in this game too. There's complacency in every industry you've ever been in. There's always a bar of complacency in every industry. And it's so easy to rise above it if you just stay consistent, you keep good habits, and you stick to those habits. That's really it. It's just being habitual.
Brother, going back to the process when you how you were processing about to change and actually to not to change, make the transition for like, what was the point, like you said, and I'm not 100% sure if you mentioned or not.
No,
what was that 100% like what make you make the transition, but also the decision? How you make that? What was in your head?
Yeah, I know. I've been all over the place on these responses. My bad.
No, you're fine. No, it's because I'm asking you, so we go back and forth. So it's okay. No, you're good.
Let's see.
When you were processing,
So it was a constant. It wasn't. There were a few singular moments, but it was a constant division in my brain. Like I lost sleep for like a year, where I was stressed out every night. I was like, what do you do, man? What are you doing? I'm like, where am I putting the eggs in my basket? Am I going left? Am I going right? Am I pursuing this loan officer gig? Or am I going to do this fighter thing? Are you going to like, in 10 years from now? Are you going to look back with regret because you didn't put more energy in this fighting thing, or is a loan officer gig the right route for you, or is it not, because you're making easy money, you're making a lot of money in it right now, and so it feels like it's the opportunity. And are you scared to jump off the ledge because you've been talking all this shit that you can do it? You've been saying you can do it this entire time, but you're the only person that's not doing it. So if you know, like, I'm the only one that can do it or cannot do it. And it's like you've been saying that you can do it the loudest, but here you are and you're not fucking doing it. So I had to make. I was, once I finally got that truth where it was like, you're the only person that can say if you're going to do it or not. And then once I kind of had that truth, and I had to kind of look myself in the mirror and say, yeah, are you willing to take that chance on yourself? And yeah, it was the best decision I ever made, to take that chance on myself. And I threw it, which I don't recommend this for everybody. You have to be at a certain level, you have to know certain things, and you have to work for years to get to this point of of deliverance, and in absolute certainty. You have to get to a certain point.
It has to make sense. It has to make sense.
You have to get through years of work to get to this level of certainty where it's like, you know what, I'm willing to drop everything and dive in. Because I get tons of people that ask me, like young aspiring fighters, like, oh, should I quit my job? Should I go all into fighting? Should I do this or this? Or you know, I want to start fighting, but I can't afford. It's like, okay, well, don't be a broke bitch. Go make some money and train.
Save it.
Like, it's not one or the other. And like, nobody needs to be paying for your fucking bills for you either, buddy.
True.
You know, don't quit your job and start training, because if you're asking these questions, you're not good enough to make it yet. So you need a lot more training. And guess what? You need money to be able to train and survive. So do both. Do both. Yeah. And you need work ethic.
Yeah.
And work ethic's going to carry these other two. If you don't have the work ethic, you can't do the other two. And so I was at a point to where I had been like, really, I've been doing both for about almost 5 years. And I was making, I made 200 grand that year, and then I quit my job. I said, fuck it.
You were making 200 grand. You make a decision, go to just say, you know what, I'm going to make a transition. I'm going to fighter. You know what? That's a really good thing, because
they're like, are you sure? And I'm like, absolutely. I can do this shit at any time again. And that was the beauty of it. That was the beauty of it. Once I knew that I could be successful, I knew I could be successful in anything.
Heck
you know, I knew once you recognize those distinguished qualities within yourself, the drive, the work ethic, the ambition, those are all one the same, but also the intelligence to assimilate into an environment and thrive there. I was like, man, I could replicate this anywhere. And so for me, it was like, okay, I did it. It's done. Now this is really cushiony and safe. I'm in this bubble of safety where I know I've got like,
you were comfortable.
Certain contacts. Yeah.
Okay.
I never really felt like I like jumped out of the nest and like faced the fire to get to where I was at. I worked hard. I was the underdog the whole time, because 4 years ago, I looked even fucking younger. Okay. And I'm selling to people that are over twice my age.
Yeah.
And trying to convince them that I know more about home ownership than they do. Okay. True. And I'm leading these presentations and everything. So I was doing that. I was filling shoes that were bigger than my own. But at that point, I felt like I'm so cushiony. I'm so safe here. This is the easy route. What am I going to do? I'm going to fucking do this for 50 more years? Go fuck yourself. So I quit the job, went back to zero, but I had savings. And my grandfather had this story where he wanted to be a pilot. And circumstances with building the family that he built and everything that now we have accessible, sort of delivered him in a different direction, because he went into business and he had to make the more immediate money, and then he grew well as an entrepreneur in that, but he didn't really follow the pilot dream that he had as a younger man, because of my grandma and family and everything else. And it's something that he always thinks about, and he doesn't, I don't think he dwelt, because he sees what he's built in front of him, and the family, most importantly, he sees the family he's built, and everybody's got great heads on their shoulders, and everybody's got a promising future. And that's a beautiful thing, I imagine, for a grandfather to see the family tree that he's
been building.
Yeah, he's blossomed. And but that's still something that you think about, and you just don't want any loose ends, any stones unturned whenever you look back. And he was like, I remember it was at Christmas, because it was at the very end of the year at Christmas, and it was like right after New Year's, I went in and told them, hey, I'm out. And he was like, you know, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you for taking this step. I'm proud of you for risking it, you know.
Wow.
And it's not, and then, you know, a couple months went by and he said, you know, how long do you plan on doing this for? You know, how long do you plan on
Oh, so because
Yeah.
he misses you. He
Yeah,
misses
yeah.
you. Come on.
Yeah. And I'm like, don't worry, it's gonna come. Like, I know it's gonna come by this. Don't worry. And sure enough, it did. I got the short notice call only 3 months after quitting my job, which was really nice. And
Only 3 months?
only 3 months after quitting my job, I got the call. It was a 7-week notice to come up to the UFC for a short notice, seven-day notice fight. So
you know what I see, Alex? I see it because a lot of people think that just because somebody has the talent, they're gonna make it.
No.
But what would you say is like, if we're about to do this, but is it true that talent, it doesn't make any sense when there is no work ethic?
1,000%. I mean,
Okay.
for me, because San Antonio's home, to me, San Antonio is a home of lost talent. You know how many kids, how many guys I grew up with talent there? How many guys at the gym we trained with? I mean, I was there for 16 years, 15 years, maybe 16 years. There's so much lost talent that will never see the light of day or never shine its light on the rest of the world because of a work ethic and complacency.
Wow.
And that's the saddest shit of all time, because it's like, man, if that could have been endowed to somebody else who wanted it more, what could they have done with it? You know, and that's just the gamble of life, I guess. But yeah.
That's that's how you make a transition. So after 3 months, having all the work ethic, being ready, hey, you know what, I'm gonna risk this. I have savings. I have my savings. I'm gonna risk this. And you know what? The reason that I'm asking you that is because there is a lot of, like you say, in San Antonio. I've been noticed that too. It's a lot of talent. With if they have the underdog mentality, put in the work ethic, man, that's gonna explode.
Yeah.
At some point.
People make bad decisions. They get bound to small ideas, where it's like, life's bigger than your zip code. You know, life's bigger than your state, than the nation. Like I've always tried to look at a global scale. Even when I was training as an early professional in like what felt like a cellar in a Honda, because we weren't nearly as big as we are now. We're big now, but back then, we came from puzzle mats and just like a little den, and if I had anybody, let's say I had somebody almost catch me in a submission, and I would think, holy shit, if this son of a bitch almost caught me, what's Tony Ferguson going to do with that same submission? Or what's Khabib going to do with that same submission? I'm thinking about the guys that the number one in the world.
Right.
I'm not thinking about the guys that I'm going to fight in 3 weeks. I mean, I am. I'm always thinking about, I'm not looking over anybody. But I already know, like in my mind, it was like, oh, I've got that guy. I'm gonna beat that guy. I know that. But like,
are you imagining the time? Like, are you visualizing how it's gonna be that once you get there?
Right. Well, not only that, but just making sure that I'm prepared for that moment. Because maybe the guy I'm gonna fight in a month isn't necessarily good at front headlock chokes, but I know that the top 3 in the world, there's one of those guys that are great at it. And so if I'm getting almost caught by this guy in my gym now, what the hell am I going to do against that guy? So I need to fix that now. Too many people are worried about what's right in front of them, and they're not thinking, they have like a 6-month forecast, a 1-year forecast, a 2-year forecast. They need to have a 5, 10-year forecast. That was one of the coolest things that Jeff Hamilton, who's one of my favorite and one of my first mentors, taught me there whenever I was a loan officer, and I was considering switching companies. And he said he didn't get mad, he didn't get angry, because I was, again, very transparent with him. Never do any shady dealings, never wrong the people who do right by you. And also be a man and be forthright about everything. It's better just to say what's on your chest rather than hold it and have to hear it off your back, And so it's better to, it's better to be forthright about those things. And so I respected it and wanted to know what he had to say. So I talked about the whole process with him. I said, hey, I'm getting these opportunities from over here. Here's what they're saying. Here's what it's looking like. What do you think about that, man? Because I'm kind of lost and I really don't know. I'm young and I'm trying to figure it out. And that was one thing he said. He's like, I think you're thinking too small. He's like, I want you to write down that 1 or 2 year forecast, because that looks like what you're thinking about right now. But then I want you to flip the page and do a 5 to 10 year forecast, and let's really break that down. Come back to my office tomorrow at 8 a.m. and we'll break it down together. I'm like, what kind of a fucking boss does that? We had 3 meetings about those kind of things before we made a decision.
Accessible.
And yeah, and that was brilliant, and that's what people need to do. They need to handle the business. They need to handle the business that's right in front of them. That's most important, especially if it's paying the bills. Handle that business that's right in front of you. That needs to get handled. But you can't get lost in that whirlpool of just immediate business. You got to think about what is the future going to hold?
What's
you
the
know,
future?
where do I want to be? I'm not just going to be this like deli boy forever. You know, who am I? Who is, you know, Alex or X, you know, whoever that person is, you know,
Sure.
Who is that person, as opposed to defining yourself by just the people you hang around or your job title or anything, you know, or your city or your neighborhood. You know, think about who is it that you want to be, where do you want to be, and how you're going to get there. And don't let all the smaller constraints act like just that. Don't let all these smaller contingencies be constraints, you know, that hold you back from, you know, trying to be more.
Interesting. What would you say that if you have you already mentioned about the discipline, the focus, the trainers inclusive, but how would you choose the right trainer now, today?
Yeah, I mean, you really gotta. I'm really good at knowing people and reading people. I think that's why I had some success in the past, and I've been good with relationships because of that. Mm-hmm. And so, for me, it was trying to see. For me, it was the emulation of being someone who I'd want to become.
Who I want to become.
Yeah. That's how I would identify a good mentor.
Interesting.
And the reason I was saying being able to read people before that is because you have to be able to see through a facade of what you want to become and make sure that person's true intentions are pure. That his integrity's right, and that his mind's right, not just an image of that person. You know, you just saw an image like you would see a photo on Instagram and think like, oh, that's who I want to be. That's not who you want to be. Not at all. No. You know, what's inside, what's operating.
Who is this, a family man or lady?
Right. Yeah. How does he tick? How does he operate? You know, you really need to see that. And then once you get to the core of that, is that person who you want to become? And that's every mentor that who I would actually consider a mentor of mine, a father, brother-like figure. Those are all people that I would want to become like, you know? And so I've been very fortunate to seek out those people. And I think there's that laws of attraction is a factor also. And that whenever you carry yourself in such a way that you will find others who carry themselves
and attract to you as well.
Yeah.
I love it. I have a quick question for you, Alex. If you have one of the most important fights, like you have, it's going to be the most important of your life. Okay. Right. Just imagine this very quick with me. It's going to give you the best fruits. It's going to give you the best fruits of your professional career as a fighter. Okay. Mm-hmm. But guess what? You lost. Mm-hmm. The question is, what would you do? How would you act? And what would you be the message to your fans?
Well, you saying right now or an experience I've already had? Because I can walk you down the experience I've already had.
No, please do. I think it's going to be way better because we're going to hear the redemption story.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of it is the full story. Yeah, is the full story and the redemption. So I did have. I mean, every single fight's the biggest fight of your life. So I can't even say I did have the biggest fight, but I've definitely had the biggest fight to date, statistically. In Cerrone, whenever I fought him in New York in January, and that was a fight that I've gone in every fight 1,000% confident I'm going to win. That one I was exceedingly, confident. Hubris was high in that, and I didn't. I lost. Brought it to him. Kind of choked up, I think, in the moment. We got fight of the night. It was a great fight, but I didn't close it. I should have closed it, and I didn't close it. And I lost the fight. And I spun into like a pool of depression after that. Where I was in a dark place for honestly a month, and not like I wasn't being active, but I was still in a dark place for probably about a month. And I just held on to it too tightly for too long. And it's so important to expunge yourself of that, to get that out of your system, and not hold on to it, and not dwell on the past or hypotheticals of the past, you know, the shoulda, coulda, woulda kind of attitude. You know, it's so important to let that go so that way you can once again be present, which is most important, being present in the moment, because that's the only way that you'll find true awareness, find that true warrior self, and then also grow so you can be worth anything in the future, you know? And so
what was the message to your fans with that?
I mean, that was pretty much the message right there on the present, being present.
Present.
I mean, for that's what I would definitely say to the fans on that. And then whenever you can be present, be aware, find your true warrior self, find again that idea, kind of what makes you tick, but like what your fears are, what your weaknesses are, what your anxiety triggers are, what all these things are, identify them, and then put them in the back seat, buckle them in tight. Don't let them have the driver's wheel. I got the fucking driver's wheel. So I put all those fear emotions in the back, and I recognize them. I know they're there. I know they're passengers on the vehicle, but I don't let them control me anymore. And so that way, whenever I'm in the face of those kind of situations again, because they will come back, as long as I stay on the course and I stay on that kind of like warrior's way, so to speak, those challenges will resurface. Bigger fights will resurface. That next big opportunity will be there again. So fuck like rematching the past. Like I don't need to do that. Redemption will come in the new challenges of the future.
True.
And I just need to make sure that I am absolutely present and aware when those moments come, so that way I can be abundantly myself and abundantly the warrior that I want to be. And so, and that again, strapping up those guys in the back, all the negativity, recognizing them, not avoiding them, not pretending they don't exist, but making friends with them, putting them in the back, and then you're operating the vehicle. And those voices keep just getting smaller and smaller because you feel less tension and stress about maybe not feeling perfect all the time. You know, you make peace with that. And that's, I mean, that's probably what I say. So I'm very excited because I'm in this point right now where I've got a big fight coming up on the 31st. And I feel like that I finally have turned this corner to be that person that I want to be and be present and be the fighter that I want to be. And so I'm really excited to make what feels like my debut on the 31st, you know, and so that will be a tale of redemption. And so I'm pretty fired up about that.
I like it. And you know what? We can wait to see that. One last thing I would say, how would you say is your mentality when you're facing an undefeated opponent?
My mentality is to break him because he's never been broken or seen that before. And whenever you break a guy who's never faced that kind of adversity, they drown in it. And so I just want to drown
waiting
him.
for it. Who would you say?
Him. Because a lot of guys that with zeros, you know, they might have come on a golden brick road, maybe a less tethered road than you've been on.
True.
Maybe not, but more than likely they have not been testing those deep waters and they haven't gotten to taste the adversity that you've tasted or the pain. And that pain can calcify you and make you strong. And so you drag that motherfucker into deep waters and you drown him.
Love it.
That's what I do.
Who would you say? Who would you say right now in the fight in the UFC game? Who would you say is an undefeated opponent for you?
Who is an undefeated opponent? I mean, the champ right now is undefeated. Khabib Nurmagomedov, he's an undefeated opponent. Whether or not he's going to retire in the next fight or two, you know, if I'll get a chance to crack at him, but that will be a prime example. Even just watching his next opponent in Justin Gaethje versus Khabib, you've got a guy who's suffered losses and grown from it and evolved, and a guy who's never had a loss before. And so we will see if Gaethje is able to bring Khabib into those deep waters and make him face the adversity that maybe he's never felt before. And so it will be a fun matchup. That's why, honestly, I have Gaethje in that fight.
And you're looking for that too as well, huh?
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. And you know what, Alex? I would say I really appreciate it. Amazing story. I learned a lot. And I truly believe that we look forward to see Alexander Hernandez the Great in the next 2-3 years. Like, we look forward for it, man. Trust me, I look forward for it big time. And it's not just because our dear friend in common that we have today, but I truly believe in the underdog story. And your story represents a lot for those that they don't see hope yet.
Yeah.
And I truly believe that you're inspiring not just the underdog, but also the community. But actually, the underdog is getting inspired today. And I really appreciate your story. I really appreciate the message. I really appreciate. Yeah, let me tell you this. We look forward October 31st. I already talked to our friend, and I said, you know what? We're gonna do this, and we're gonna support really big. because we truly believe in championship, and we truly believe in the underdog. And October 31st is your game, brother. Thank you so
Thank you,
much for
brother.
being with us. I really appreciate it, Cole. Talk to
Have
you
a good
later,
one,
brother.
brother.